Picture this. Two people. Same city. Same income. Same $100 bill sitting on the table in front of them. One of them is 20 years old. The other is 40. They both pick up that $100. They both decide to invest it. And 25 years later, one of them is sitting on a mountain of wealth that changed every single thing about their life. Their job, their stress levels, their relationships, their freedom. And the other one is still working, still calculating, still wondering why the math never seems to work out in their favor. Same $100. Completely different lives. And the only difference, the only thing that separated these two people, was time. That is what we are talking about today, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you will never look at $100 the same way again. Most people think investing is about how much money you put in. They think the secret is finding the right stock, the right fund, the right guru to follow. But here is the brutal truth that nobody tells you clearly enough. The single most powerful force in investing is not knowledge, it is not income, it is not even discipline. It is the age at which you start. Starting at 20 versus starting at 30 is not a 10-year difference. It is not even close to a 10-year difference. When you factor in compound interest, which is the real engine behind every great fortune ever built, that 1 decade gap translates into a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And starting at 30 versus 40? That gap is even more devastating. So if you are sitting here right now, whether you are 19 or 25 or 33 or 41, this video is going to show you exactly what your financial future looks like based on when you start, and more importantly, what you need to do about it right now. Let us start with the person who begins at 20. They are young, they probably do not have a lot of money, but they find a way to set aside $100 every single month. That is it. No massive salary. No inheritance. No secret investment tip. Just $100 a month, consistently, put into a basic index fund that tracks the stock market and historically returns around 10% per year on average. Now here is where it gets interesting, and this is something that will probably stop you mid-scroll if you keep watching. By the time this person reaches 65, that $100 a month has not just grown. It has exploded. That $100 a month, over 45 years at a 10% annual return, grows to approximately $1,058,000. Over $1 million. From $100 a month. The total amount they actually put in with their own money is only $54,000. The market, the compound interest, the time, all of that turned $54,000 into over $1 million. Think about that ratio for a second. For every single dollar they personally invested, the market gave them back roughly $19. That is not saving. That is not even investing in the traditional sense. That is building a machine that earns money while you sleep, while you eat, while you are on vacation, while you are living your life. But the real secret, and this is coming next so stay with me, is not just the final number. It is what compound interest does year by year, silently, invisibly, in a way that most people never see until it is too late to go back and take advantage of it. In the first 10 years, from age 20 to 30, our investor puts in $12,000 of their own money. With returns, they now have around $20,000. That feels good, but it does not feel magical yet. Most people at this stage look at their account and think, okay, I put in $12,000 and I have $20,000, that is decent. And then they stop. They cash it out for a vacation, or a car, or they just get impatient and redirect that money somewhere else. This is the single biggest investing mistake of an entire generation, giving up before compound interest has had enough time to do what it does best. Because look at what happens next. In the second decade, from age 30 to 40, the account does not just grow a little more, it starts to accelerate. By age 40, that account has grown to somewhere around $75,000. Now in the third decade, from 40 to 50, the acceleration becomes almost uncomfortable to look at. The account crosses $200,000. And from 50 to 65, it does not just double or triple. It rockets past $500,000 and keeps climbing until it crosses that $1 million mark. The money is doing more and more of the heavy lifting every single year, and the person is still only contributing $100 a month. This is what people mean when they say let your money work for you. And the only reason it works this way is because they started at 20. Now let us talk about the person who starts at 30. Same discipline, same $100 a month, same 10% annual return, but they lost that first decade. Maybe they told themselves they would start when they had more money. Maybe they had student loans to deal with. Maybe they just did not know. Whatever the reason, they are starting at 30 instead of 20, and they have 35 years instead of 45 years. By the time they reach 65, their account has grown to approximately $379,000. Now, $379,000 is still a life-changing amount of money. It is absolutely nothing to dismiss. But here is the comparison that should genuinely disturb you. The person who started at 20 ends up with over $1 million. The person who started at 30 ends up with $379,000. They contributed the same $100 every single month. The only difference is that extra 10 years at the beginning. 1 decade of $100 monthly investments, which is a total of just $12,000 in actual contributions, created a difference of over $650,000 in final wealth. Read that again slowly. $12,000 of actual contributions, invested a decade earlier, created $650,000 of additional wealth by retirement. This is not a rounding error. This is not a technicality. This is compound interest showing its full, terrifying, beautiful power over a human lifetime. But wait, because here is the part that most people completely miss, and it might be the most important point in this entire video. The person who started at 30 does not just end up with less money. They end up with a fundamentally different life. When you have $1 million at retirement, you can withdraw 4% per year, which is the standard safe withdrawal rate that most financial experts recommend, and you get $40,000 a year in passive income. That is money that arrives whether you work or not. That is money that means you choose your job instead of needing your job. That is money that means a medical bill does not destroy your year. That is money that means you can say no to things that drain your soul. But the person who ended up with $379,000? Their 4% withdrawal is about $15,000 a year. They are still working to supplement that. They are still calculating. The gap between those two lives is not a gap in intelligence or opportunity or talent, it is a gap in timing. Now here is where it gets really serious, and I want you to pay close attention because this part hits different. Let us talk about the person who starts at 40. They are not irresponsible. They are not lazy. Life happened. Maybe they spent their 30s building a business that did not work out. Maybe they had kids early and every dollar went toward survival. Maybe nobody ever taught them about investing and they are just now, at 40, starting to figure this out. They are doing the right thing by starting. That matters. That deserves credit. But let us look at the math honestly. $100 a month from age 40 to age 65 is 25 years of investing. At that same 10% return, they end up with approximately $133,000. $133,000. Compared to over $1 million for the person who started at 20. They put in $30,000 of their own money over 25 years. They got back $133,000. That is still more than 4 times their investment, which is genuinely impressive. But compared to what could have been, it is a completely different game. The wealth gap between someone who started at 20 and someone who started at 40, on the exact same $100 a month, is over $900,000. Not because one person was smarter. Not because one person earned more. Simply because of when they started. And here is where I want to stop the math for a moment, because the real story is not about numbers on a spreadsheet. The real story is about what those numbers mean in real life, in actual human terms, in the decisions you make and the freedom you either have or do not have. The person with $1 million at retirement wakes up in the morning and decides whether they feel like working today. Not whether they can afford to take the day off. Not whether missing a shift will affect their rent. They decide based on what they want. That is a completely different psychological experience of life. Research shows that financial stress is one of the leading causes of anxiety, broken relationships, and health problems in adults. And the cruel irony is that the financial stress is often not about how much money people earn. It is about how much they have saved, how much runway they have, how much breathing room exists between them and a crisis. The person who started investing at 20 has that breathing room for their entire adult life. Every decade, their cushion gets thicker. Every year, their options expand. The person who started at 40 is building that cushion late, and they may never fully experience what it feels like to have money that is completely untouchable, completely secure, growing silently in the background of a life that does not revolve around financial survival. Now I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking, okay, but what if I am already 30? What if I am already 35 or 38? Is it too late? And I want to answer this directly because too many people use the late start as an excuse to never start at all, and that is the worst possible response to this information. It is never too late to start. But it is also never too early to stop lying to yourself about the cost of waiting. Every single year you delay starting has a compounding cost, not a linear cost. Waiting one more year at age 25 costs you more than waiting one more year at age 35, because that earlier year has more time to compound. But even waiting at 35 has a real, measurable, significant cost. The answer is not to panic. The answer is to start today. Right now. Not next month when your finances feel more stable. Not after the holidays. Not when you get the raise. Today. Because the second best time to plant a tree was yesterday, and the best time is right now. But there is another layer to this conversation that I need to address, because $100 a month is just the starting point. The real power move, the thing that separates people who build serious wealth from people who just do okay, is increasing that contribution over time. Think about it this way. If you start at 20 with $100 a month, and every single year you increase your contribution by just $25, which for most people is one less dinner out per month, the trajectory changes completely. By the time you are 30, you are investing $350 a month. By 40, you are at $600 a month. By 50, you are putting in $850 a month. And by 65, instead of arriving at $1 million, you are looking at a number that is genuinely hard to write without stopping and rereading it. The principle is the same: start early, be consistent, increase gradually, but the results are on a completely different scale. The person who starts at 30 or 40 can partially compensate for their late start by increasing the contribution amount significantly. Instead of $100 a month, if you start at 35 and invest $300 a month, you end up with close to $400,000 by 65. Not the same as starting at 20, but a genuinely strong financial foundation. The late starter is not doomed. They just have to play a different game, a higher contribution game, to reach a comparable destination. Now here is something that most financial videos get completely wrong, and I want to make sure this video is different. The psychology of investing is just as important as the math. Because the math only works if you actually follow through, and most people do not follow through. Not because they are bad with money. Not because they do not understand compound interest. But because investing feels invisible. You put $100 in, and nothing happens that you can see or touch or enjoy. Your life looks exactly the same after investing $100 as it did before. And your brain, which is wired for immediate rewards, not 40-year payoffs, quietly starts to convince you that this is pointless. This is why so many people start investing and stop within a year. The first time the market drops, and it will drop, it drops every few years, people panic. They see their $2,000 turn into $1,600 and they pull everything out to stop the bleeding. They lock in the loss, they exit the game, and they watch from the sidelines as the market recovers, climbs higher, and keeps compounding for everyone who stayed in. Staying in during the drops is not just a financial strategy. It is the entire game. Every major market crash in history has been followed by a recovery. Every single one. The people who got wealthy through investing did not get wealthy because they were lucky enough to buy at the bottom. They got wealthy because they stayed in through the drops and kept buying every single month regardless of what the market was doing. Let me give you one more comparison that will make everything concrete. Let us say you have two friends. Same age, both 22 years old. Friend A starts investing $100 a month immediately and invests every single month without stopping until age 65. Friend B waits until age 32 to start, then invests $200 a month, double the amount, every single month until age 65. Who ends up with more money? Most people guess friend B, because he invested more money per month for the same number of remaining years. But the answer is friend A. Friend A ends up with approximately $1,058,000. Friend B ends up with approximately $758,000. Friend A invested less per month, invested a smaller total amount in absolute dollar terms over the whole period, and still ended up with $300,000 more. Because time, that first decade of compounding from age 22 to 32, cannot be bought back at any price. No amount of catching up can fully replace those years. This is the most expensive mistake you will ever make in your financial life, and it does not feel like a mistake at the time. It feels like a reasonable delay. It feels like waiting until things are more stable. It feels responsible, even. But the math does not care about how reasonable it felt. The math just runs. So here is where we land, and I want this to hit as clearly as possible. If you are 20, you are holding the most valuable financial asset in the world right now, time. Not a salary, not a degree, not a network. Time. And $100 a month invested starting today will, with the full weight of compound interest behind it, almost certainly make you a millionaire by retirement. If you are 30, you have lost some time but you have not lost the game. Increasing your contribution to $200 or $300 a month and starting immediately still puts you on a path to a life-changing amount of wealth. If you are 40, the urgency is real. Not to panic, but to act. $400 or $500 a month starting now, invested consistently and left alone through every market dip, still builds something meaningful, something that gives you options, reduces stress, and protects the second half of your life. And if you are somewhere between all of these, if you are 27 or 33 or 36, the answer is the same for every single one of you. The best move you can make is the one you make today. Open the account today. Set up the automatic investment today. Make it automatic so your brain does not have to fight itself every month about whether to invest or spend. Remove the decision from your hands and let the system run. Because here is the final truth, and this is the thing I want you to carry with you long after this video ends. Wealth is not built in moments of inspiration. Wealth is not built when the market is soaring and everyone is talking about their returns at dinner parties. Wealth is built in the boring months. The months where you invest your $100 and nothing exciting happens and you go about your life. The months where the market drops and every headline screams disaster and you invest your $100 anyway. The months where you get a raise and instead of upgrading your lifestyle immediately, you increase your investment first. Wealth is built in the accumulation of ordinary decisions made consistently over an extraordinary length of time. And the person who understands this, the person who starts at 20 and never stops, or who starts at 30 and increases their contributions and never stops, or who starts at 40 with urgency and never stops, that person wins. Not because they were special. Not because the universe rewarded them. But because they started, and then they refused to quit. The balance in your account right now is just a starting point. It is not your story. It is not your ceiling. It is not your destiny. It is just today's number. And today's number changes, slowly at first, then all at once, if you make one decision right now and stick to it. Start investing. Start today. Even if it is $50. Even if it is $25. Start the habit, start the account, start the machine. Because the machine does not ask how much you started with. It only asks one question: when did you start? And the best answer you will ever give it is right now. In the next video, I will show you exactly where to invest that $100, which specific accounts to open, which funds to choose, and how to set it all up in under 20 minutes even if you have never invested before in your life. Comment 100 below and I will personally pin the most important tip from the next video for you. And if this video changed how you see money, even a little, hit subscribe because this is exactly the kind of content we put out every single week. Your future self is already calculating. Make sure they like what they find.